folks. Jeremy Pruitt and Tennessee. My goodness, I saw Ross Dellinger and a story he had. Of course, it's also on all the various sites that cover the NCAA. 18 violations, almost $60,000 in illegal benefits by Tennessee football under former head coach Jeremy Pruitt. Charged them 18 level 1 alleged rules violation. The $60,000, of course, you know what happens. I don't know what happens in the next 2 or 3 years with that. Maybe he disappears. But impermissible recruiting benefits. And also his wife, Casey, accused of making 25 cash payments, about $12,500, to help a prospect's mother make her car payment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a coach's wife through and through, I guess.
Where is he right now?
Unemployed.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is for people who say, well, this stuff is legal now. Well, no. A coach inducing a player directly is still not legally for the NIL.
Schools aren't supposed to be dabbling with the
Yes.
collectives, even though we know that's BS.
Yeah. So what's kind of sad about this is that had Jeremy Pruitt just waited a minute, none of this probably would have happened to him. But he had already...
Yeah, Ron Meyer and SMU had done the same thing
he had,
40 years ago.
But, I mean, for him, it was, he does this, a year later he gets fired, and then a year after that, he could have just set something up for these guys legally. But he was already starting to rub people at Tennessee the wrong way and wasn't winning.
I thought he was going to do well there, and of course that's why I don't hire these coaches. The NCAA accused his staff and Pruitt hosting 6 recruits and their families during a year-long dead period in which programs weren't allowed to have any on-campus recruiting activity because of COVID-19. The NCAA saying the Volunteers hosted the prospects on unofficial visits 9 weekends between July and November the same year. Prospects were given free lodging, meals, transportation, and other benefits that totaled about $12,000, and that's different than the $12,500 to help a parent pay their car.
He had multiple, or his wife, whoever was handling the cash, they made multiple payments for multiple reasons, and one of them was for medical bills. And so that's admirable in a roundabout way. It's like Pete Fredenberg, and the former UMHB head coach, had a national title stripped because he let players use a car that nobody was using. Not theirs, not a Lamborghini, not any. Like, hey, you need to go to HEB. You can have this junker car, and you can go get your groceries. And that's basically what he did, and he lost a national title because of it. So when I talk about, college athletics and all that, make no mistake, as I said a few minutes ago, it's on all parties to improve the college athletics experience, and that's just ridiculous that a guy can't bum a car for 5 minutes to get groceries. Like, that's insane. Medical bills helping out with that. I know there's obviously people that would abuse that, but that's admirable in a way, even though it was against the rules. But the stuff of, like, the COVID break and not being able to have visits and having full-blown freaking visits.
Like Herm
Edwards, come on, dude. Like, that's just stupid. That's just stupid. There's no excuse, and that's not one of those you can go, well, you're just helping out somebody in need. No, you're not. You're not paying medical bills. You're not getting them groceries. You're just whining and dining to get a recruit. And that's where there's no excuse for breaking those rules.
Well, especially since that would be, especially then, a really difficult thing to hide. And we saw how quickly Arizona State did, because if there were more than 5 people in a room at any time during 2020, half the world's like, what's going on here? Who's this guy? Why is the coach talking to him? Why are they,
18 violations categorized as level 1, alleged on 9 separate weekends from July to November 2020 during the dead period because of COVID. The football program, including Brian Niedermeyer, former assistant, and Bethany Gunn, director of recruiting, funded over $12,000 in impermissible inducements and unofficial visit expenses for 6 prospective student athletes and their family members and individuals associated with the prospective student athletes to the Knoxville area. That's just stupid. That's stupid, and you deserve to get busted for being stupid.
Nail salon treatments and a trip on the Tennessee River on a student athlete's
That's the same thing as medical bills, right?
Yeah.
So Paul, Jeremy Pruitt was at Florida State.
Yeah.
His wife, according to Florida on the chat room, worked in FSU compliance. They've been digging into her?
I don't know. It's just, there were...
It's another program that if they were, it's not mattering very much.
There were a lot of, when he left, there were a lot of rumors about him. And I didn't want to get, because it was one of those things that he left and no one was really that upset about it, given especially given the fact that at that time his star was super on the rise.
Sounds like an average day in the SEC. D-Wees.
Yeah, I mean, we want to pretend like it's not. We're kidding ourselves, but yeah, basically. I mean, that's why all this NIL stuff is just more allowing it to be just out in the open, that if somebody needs help with the car, hey, we'll hook you up with the local dealership, and shoot, you might have a better car than when you arrived. Or, medical bills, obviously finding ways to be able to help out with those. Again, I can appreciate that. Who couldn't? But, yeah, I mean, that's what was going on, and it's now, it was all in the dark, and now it's just all out in the light, and it's not it's not an issue. It's not an issue whatsoever, just so long as the schools aren't attached to it. The collectives just have to pay the medical bills and help out with the car and do all of those things.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's weird. It's weird that we even hear these stories now. I mean, it was before NIL happened, but 2 years ago, we all knew it was coming down the pike, and COVID happened, so it slowed the roll a little bit. But
we did hear about the Arizona State having unofficial visits, and they weren't supposed to, and that's what's gotten them kind of sideways. By the way, here's some text.
Does anything ultimately happen
to Tennessee? I mean,
he'll get a show cause,
but I don't think anything. Look, if you're
right,
Tennessee might get something for it, but the athletic director who's there is gone too. So.
And there's the fine line.
And that's the other thing that's happening is now that this is out, the onus is on the NCAA to punish it, because one of the new guidances is get it done while the people are still there, and not 5 years later when everyone's gone and fired.
I think that's probably that philosophy is what really helped Baylor quite a bit.
What?
With a lot of what was discussed about the scandal had nothing to do with the NCAA having any kind of jurisdiction. At the same time, I think a fact that everything was cleaned out in whatever ways. I think probably also if they wanted to just throw something out there, I think they also gave them credit for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, they took so long that it was like 5 years after the fact, and there was nobody on campus save for like two guys who were even sniffing the roster at that point. When all of what was alleged to go down went down. So this is, I guess, Gunn got interviewed in January 2021, so about 16, 18 months ago or whatever. So it's relatively new, but, I mean, this will be curious just because I don't think, obviously, they're getting the death penalty or anything insane like that. That's not what this is, and it's going to be just kind of fascinating to see what this revamped NCAA actually does or can do or tries to do, and then how Tennessee responds. Because this is going to be one of the first kind of tests, right, of what this new landscape with what all is bubbling and what all is going on. This is going to be one of the first, I guess, kind of, I don't know, I'd call this high-profile case, but I guess it's a case we're talking about, and that's out there today that a lot of people are talking about. So I'll be very curious to see how the NCAA